Welcome back to the Damn Yankees podcast, produced by Seven Ashes Productions. Today is Thursday, August 3rd, and a lot has happened in the last week. I'm pretty angry, I guess. I can't find my words.
Don't forget to introduce us.
Oh yeah, see, I'm that angry. I was just ready to get into it. My name is Megan. That's my brother Ryan, and over there is our baseball dummy Cliff. He's not, a very good producer because I'll forget to introduce us. So he's good at that, but not good at baseball. That's fine.
You good, Ryan?
Yes. Sorry.
All right.
So what? Oh, sorry. I thought somebody was saying something. We're just going to get into a lot of the Yankee topics because there's a few of them and we could go on and on. We're not doing around the league today because there's enough Yankee stuff to talk about.
And we already have gone on.
Shut up.
Yeah, we might have podcasted before this podcast. So this is basically a retelling of what we talked about prior to hitting record.
Yeah, so we'll probably forget some really great points that we made before we hit record. But regardless, so Rizzo today was put on the IL with post-concussion syndrome, which shocked absolutely nobody.
Except for the front office.
Except for the front office and the medical staff, apparently. So if anybody remembers, Rizzo was butt checked by Tatis in the Padres game, May 28th. He was picked off first, and Tatis for some reason didn't slide back like every base runner does on the way back to first. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that, but usually in closer plays they are sliding back to first.
Yeah, and plays where you're about to get tagged out, you typically are
which
sliding
he
in.
he very clearly gets out, but it's a very easy pickoff because he doesn't slide back in, and within that motion, his hip just rockets off of Rizzo's head, and Rizzo then proceeds to get the out, so good for him, and then stumble around the field.
There's a joke in here somewhere about butt checks and sliding.
I mean, he did. That's what he did. He butt checked him.
Yeah, I think he threw his glove off through.
I think he shoved Tatis actually a little bit.
Shoved Tatis out of the way. And that could have been a balance thing too.
It could have been a balance thing
back,
of whoa.
He might have just was about to follow over.
Possibly, and he proceeded to stumble around the infield, and then I think he was taken out, if memory serves.
Taken out immediately. I'm sure they went through their protocols, which we've looked up beforehand, and they're not very detailed. Like, we looked up the NFL's, and the NFL's is very detailed. First you do this, then you do this, then you do this test, then you do that test. And if there's something wrong, then we take them into the back room, the locker room, and we do this test, and this test. The MLB one, I think you read it. What did it say?
What I could find, so there's not really a whole lot of information available that I could Google. So I don't know. But what I could find was just a basic outline of check him to see if he's okay. The athletic trainer can clear him. The physician can also clear him, doesn't have to. And then they'll do, they can take him off the field. And if they feel it's necessary to take him off the field, they do a SCAT-3 test, which is probably just a regular sports cognitive test or something, SCA. I don't know what it stands for, but
I think it's sports cognitive assessment test.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, assessment test is the same thing. So maybe it's not assessment test. Those are redundant words, but anyway.
Anyway, it could be. Who knows? It's a test to make sure your cognitive function is sound. They take the test prior to coming to a team, or when they first join the MLB, whichever the team prefers. I guess
think it's done
is what I read.
Preseason every year is the one that I read.
Right. So they do it at the beginning of the year, and then they'll do it if they need to for concussion protocol. And according to Rizzo and according to the release at the time, he passed the concussion protocol at the time.
But his numbers show anything other than pass.
If anybody's watched Rizzo over the last 2 months, you would have probably said, what the hell happened to him? And why is he swinging at that? Or why did he make that dumb base running move? Like, that's pretty boneheaded. He has a high baseball IQ. Why would he go there?
Yeah, and I can tell you the stats of what, because I got it up.
What, before and after?
Yeah, before the collision.
Yeah, go for it.
In 53 games, he was batting .304 with a .376 on base percentage, .505 slug with 11 home runs. Afterwards, he's played 47 games. He's batting .174, batting average .272 on base percentage, and .227 slugging percentage. 1 home run. I think he only has 2 extra base hits. I think that home run and a double. I think that's it when it comes to his extra base hits.
It's been really bad. So, and in the beginning of the season, like you said, those numbers are great. People were like calling him the MVP numbers. And
I saw somebody say that Rizzo this season is the MVP of this team. And a part of that was because Judge was dealing with some of the injury early on, but they were like, Rizzo's
right. He had the hip injury thing, and
yeah.
Prior to that, Rizzo was carrying the team, quote unquote. It was too early in the season to say that, I think, but he was like, there were lots of struggles going on. We talked about them.
And we've talked before that players find their way to averages. And so
ups and downs,
we knew that Rizzo probably wasn't going to remain at above a 300 hitter, but I mean, he was not just a 300 hitter. I mean, he was missing. He has really good plate discipline, and he was striking out on things that you should just not like. He was looking like Giancarlo Stanton or Javi Baez at the plate rather than Anthony Rizzo. And
Stanton would take offense to that comment.
Okay, so I'll say Javi Baez, because Javi Baez is really bad. He will swing at pretty much any slider that goes anywhere at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Rizzo looked really bad. I mean, anybody who watched him can't deny that he just looked lost. And, a bunch of people like, oh, Rizzo's cooked and, he's just bad.
He's
and it's like a player like this doesn't just overnight wake up and forget how to play baseball. And, when he comes off the field and in post games and said, I don't know, I'm used to making adjustments like this. People go through slumps and I'm used to coming out of it. This doesn't feel the same. Like, he said that before today. I know I remember hearing a quote like that before today. And for the medical staff to not have looked into this before 2 months afterward, that I don't care what Rizzo says. I don't care that Rizzo goes, I'm tired, but it's just because we flew back from LA and that's got to be why I'm tired. I'm tired because it's the end of July and I'm just tired.
To do to play.
Right. They are professional players. They're just going to wake up and go do what they need to do. A medicals person should be able to look at him and go, though, maybe we should check this out.
Something's not right here. Right.
Yeah.
I coach high school cross country. Now, the high school cross country track, you rarely see concussions. I've seen it happen. It's typically like somebody trips, and then as they trip, they get the runner in front of them hits them with the back of their heel.
Or something.
It's very rare, but it's happening. I've seen kids get a concussion before from that. There was one that happened a year or two ago during a track meet. But regardless, just being in high school coaching, we have to do as coaches, we have to do yearly concussion protocol, like awareness and protocol understanding. So like we have to, as coaches, understand the protocols of it too, and also understand why you can't just throw the guy back out there, especially like, I think high school football is notorious. Football in general is notorious for really doing really bad with concussions, just, man up and get back out there kind of thing. But just in general, players want to continue playing.
Right.
They don't want, it's something that they love doing. It's not an injury that a lot of times you can see. You break an ankle, you can see that your ankle is detached from where it should be, or you tear an ACL, you do stuff like that. Those are things that you can pretty much see something's wrong with your body. When you've got a concussion, it's not something that you can physically see.
Right.
You can see the symptoms, And I can tell you, if we were to throw a person back out onto the field a week later, not even, I think he played like 5 days later, so not even a full week.
Yeah, he had 4 days of rest because he didn't. Yeah, he did not play the Seattle series right after it happened, and then there's an off day, so that was four games rest, and then he was in the Dodgers series.
And then to continue to show symptoms of, just not being able to play the sport at the same level that you were prior to, like, you would get fired. Like, there would be no doubt I'd be fired. Watkins, our medical trainer, would get fired. Our athletic director would be fired.
Yeah,
anybody all because we're not following simple protocol.
Safety protocols that are like you said,
Miami
simple.
Dolphins, Miami Dolphins staff, and this is a much worse situation, obviously, and thank God Rizzo did not take a hit by pitch to the head, another check on the their situation where somebody
or
else,
even nothing as serious, but just a rumble at second base or at home, like sliding into second or at home, just jostled enough. It doesn't take much for the second collision to make it worse. Yeah.
Right. And so thanks God for Rizzo and that. But I think this reminds me of the incompetence of the Miami Dolphins staff during the NFL last year. Tua had a concussion where he had to leave a game for. The next week, they clear him to play again. And he gets one of the worst concussions on a I don't want to say with all certainty and hyperbole that it was a far less impactful hit. But from what I remember, the one that he took the week before was a much harder hit. But in this one, he froze up, like his whole arms and body.
Yeah, it's called something. I forget what it's called. He took. But...
And he had to be taken out. And the entire medical staff, or at least maybe not the entire medical staff, but at least the head neurologist in charge of the situation was fired. And so... the MLB needs to put an investigation on this staff on what's going on, because that's just it's terrible,
I really
especially with the injury history that we have. That there is something wrong with our medical staff that constantly gets things wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I agree there. I don't understand. They say that he passed all these protocols in the beginning, and Rizzo says he was fine in the beginning, but I don't understand how you can see the initial blow, the initial what am I trying to say? Where's anyway, the initial contact impact. If how you can see how he acted right after that. I don't care if he didn't black out. I don't care if he doesn't, have memory loss of that event. He stumbled around, couldn't find his footing, and was disoriented. That is a sign of a concussion. So I know he was pulled out of the game and then he didn't go back in 5 days later. So I'm not saying that part was extreme negligence. I'm just saying there was a sign there, and then at least a month later, we can give them a month, I guess, because they say he had a stiff neck. Maybe they attributed some of the stuff to lingering pain from the stiff neck. So a month later, and he's still struggling the way he is, says his neck is completely fine, is making adjustments, but can't figure out why it's not working. Why don't you just send him for a test again? It seems very obvious.
Sorry, I think we're a little bit delayed, but didn't you say something on the fact that Rizzo would go through his go through the play-by-play of the game and not remember that that's where the ball was, that he saw it completely.
Yeah, he mentioned today at the when he was explaining to the media what had happened in his own, from the Tatis injury to now. He had said that he would be at the plate, swing at a pitch, think it was in a certain location, get back and look at I don't, because he'd come off the field. I don't understand. How did I miss that? That was right where, I swung right where it was. He'd get back, look at the replay, and it's nowhere near where he thought it was. And that's what he said today. So
he said that today, but he's got to have made that comment to somebody.
Yeah, I can't imagine he didn't say why wouldn't the hitting coach have asked well, what happened here? Maybe the hitting coach did ask what happened here. We've only have a new hitting coach in the last couple of weeks. Maybe the previous hitting coach didn't ask what happened here.
And didn't they say that Rizzo has taken on to Sean Casey more than
they have.
I guess players? Because he went with no gloves. Close.
Yeah, for one at bat.
So maybe it was Sean Casey that I'm not saying that we've just figured everything out, but maybe Sean Casey.
No, but that might be
they
why
went back and look into it.
Yeah, because Rizzo, I can understand the player thinking, I just got to grind harder. I'm tired because it's the middle of the season. I can understand the player making excuses. Hopefully you're better in tune with your body and you can, say this though feels different, which I think he acknowledged today.
Right.
But a hitting coach, that is a specific example. If this has been happening for the last 2 months, which I imagine it has by the numbers, that you've been swinging at a pitch where and thinking it's in one place but it's in another, that a good hitting coach would be well, what happened here? How come you keep doing this? I thought we made an adjustment for this and it's not working. And it makes sense now that maybe he voiced, well, I don't know, I thought I saw it there, finally, to Sean Casey. And Sean Casey goes, whoa, man, though, but it's not there. Are you okay? And maybe you're not seeing right. And, oh, you had a concussion recently? I don't know. That makes sense. At least it makes sense, because everything else is just sounds like negligence to me, that you just let somebody who had this kind of injury just continue on after he makes odd comments or unclear comments in post-game interviews. He's making weird decisions on the bases. He's not hitting right. And this is a veteran player who's consistent in his career. It bugs me that it took 2 months for them to say, maybe he has post-concussion syndrome.
Yeah. And maybe it is something with Sean Casey. Maybe Sean Casey, obviously they, there was obviously a bit of incompetence. We obviously can tell with how bad the offense has been with, was it Dylan? Is it Dylan, or am I blanking on his name?
I think that's right. Dylan Lawson. Yeah.
Lawson. Yep. Dylan Lawson. There was obviously a big enough problem for Cashman to decide to fire him. He's never fired a coach in his entire tenure in the middle of a season of any type. So obviously there was some type of incompetence. We already knew about the Anthony Volpe. We've made the joke about the chicken parm game with Volpe getting hitting lessons from a minor leaguer that sparked his resurgence for the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's only been 3 weeks with Sean Casey, and we've now figured out it could be just a coincidence, but I think that there is at least some correlation there that Sean Casey's hired. Rizzo is noted that he's taken the most time with Sean Casey, and I'm sure Sean Casey. Shine. Yeah, that's the word that they use.
Sorry.
Sean Casey, I'm sure, has probably found some way of saying, hey, what's going on here? And was able to be we need to circle back to the May incident. So yeah, I mean, the situation's not good with Rizzo. It is very, I think it's just very, what's so frustrating about it, and we've kind of said it in multiple times, is just how this just shows how disorganized this franchise has become. This is a franchise that is supposed to be the gold standard of MLB, and we can't even protect our own from
this
injury.
And this
again. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry. We are delayed a little bit, I think. And this has happened before with Clint Frazier. And granted, that was I think it was also a communications thing, but it's a communications thing. You have to figure out a better way to communicate with your athletes to let them tell you that they're not seeing right. Like Clint Frazier went through this. He had all these concussion symptoms and headaches and everything. So
as coaches too, you know that players are going to try and give you false sense of how their health is. I mean, I don't deal with it as much as concussions with cross country. I usually deal with it with, plantar fasciitis issues, with hamstring issues, with quad issues, with hip, IT band issues. I usually deal with it with some type of running, for some type of leg muscular issue where kids will try to hide certain things. The good athletes will try to hide certain injuries. Then there's the really bad athletes who just are out there and making excuses for things, who will find any excuse to make an injury. But the good athletes who want to be out there, I've had kids try to hide injuries or try to just like, oh, it's not bad. It's just because I just started running again. It's like, no, like we need to make sure you get taken care of. And a good coach will make sure they put their athletes' health above anything else. And obviously, and especially at the professional level, but even at the high school level, we want to win. Like, I want to win a state championship at some point. I want to at least make it to states every year. And yes, there are times where losing your best athlete is going to makes things more difficult to do that. But I'm not going to throw a kid out and run a race when he's been complaining about calf issues and says, oh, but I think I'm okay. And I've had to do that before. Yeah. And we still,
you need to do your due diligence and say, like, maybe I need to go a step further, or the medical staff. That's why they hire these expensive medical staff to be on, like, team physicians. And like, that's why they exist, to go to see something the coach might not, or, and it is a little bit on the player to communicate properly, and also on the coaches to be able to pull out the proper communication from, everyone has to work together to figure this out. It is a concussion. It's not as easy to diagnose as a broken ankle, but it's more important almost to be diagnosed, or just as important. You can't keep running on a broken ankle. You can't keep playing with a broken head. So I hope that, with him resting, he's able to heal and get right. And, we'll figure it out. It's not like, that's the other frustrating part. It wasn't like the team was like doing amazing, and losing him in the lineup in June was going to make it worse. Like,
right.
They just kept thinking that he was going to turn it around, and it was clear to everybody who saw that there was something wrong. Anybody who tuned in and watched on a consistent basis, something was wrong. And so that's the most frustrating,
like you said,
part.
To start it off, it came to no surprise to anybody that as soon as I saw that they announced that he went to the IL for a concussion, I said, and that's why I think I texted you immediately. I said, please tell me he got like something happened in the game yesterday.
That's what I said. Nope. Nothing.
So, okay, so this is May. Yeah, like I was just like, did I just miss something? Before I get overly angry here, did I miss something? Nope.
Yeah.
Everybody knew as soon as they saw that where that came from.
Yeah, and I had seen just Rizzo to the IL, because everyone was like, why is Waldo up? Why is Waldo up? All I saw was Rizzo to the IL, and I was like, if this is a concussion, son of a bitch. And I hadn't heard that. And then you had texted and said, he had a concussion. Did something happen yesterday or the day before? Because he didn't play yesterday. But and nope, nothing happened. So
it's
very frustrating.
Another frustrating thing.
Exactly. I was going to say
is Germán. So I think this one's a little bit quicker. I mean, Germán already has history. We've talked about it on this podcast. We've talked about it. I think during preseason, we talked about Germán and not really liking him all that much. And then he throws his perfect game during the season. I mean, what a up and down part of his career, both on the field between getting suspended earlier in the year for cheating with foreign substances, and also in the locker room. And apparently now, we've talked about it before, and I believe alcohol abuse was part of his issues before with the domestic violence in the past.
He went to rehab as part of his way back after the domestic
for
violence.
both things, correct? Domestic rehab and alcoholic rehab. Didn't he do both?
Right. Like he went, I think so. But I'm pretty sure he specifically went to rehab for alcohol abuse. So and I know he did the domestic violence stuff. So
and what we're alluding to is that he went. Apparently, reports are he went into the locker room belligerent. I think I read on Tuesday. Yeah, I read just as we were talking pre-show. I read the article you mentioned. You said he came in belligerent. And what did you say? I know he was yelling and screaming, but didn't you say he threw something? I didn't see that part in what I read.
So, right. The part that what you read was what's official, I guess. And, that he had gone into the clubhouse, he was belligerent, and that people were pretty shaken up afterward. What I saw on Twitter by what people say is a reliable source. I hadn't heard of him until today, honestly. Paul something, I forget what his last name was. He said that he has a source that said that he was in there like throwing equipment, throwing stuff, and he broke 2 TVs. And that a starting pitcher, quote unquote, had to break up or diffuse the situation. Like no one was physically harmed during his temper tantrum. But he did need to be diffused. They said he was not in control of his emotions. That was public somewhere. I don't know if
I think I did
see
article. I think I did see that one. Not in control of his emotions in that article that I was mentioning about him being belligerent. So, I think it's part of that. I think you mentioned it could be Cole. I'm actually thinking what nationality is Sevy and Domingo Germán?
It could have been Sevy. That's true. It could have been.
I don't know if they are.
If they're both Dominican, I think Sevy's Dominican.
But don't they at least speak the same?
They probably, I think they both speak Spanish. So yeah, I mean that makes more sense actually. Cole's like dad character, persona.
It could be that too.
But no, I think that's more credible. Probably it was Sevy or someone, but who knows? They just said a starting pitcher. Somebody had to diffuse him and calm him down. The comments after the game, or when it was announced, I guess, because it was announced Wednesday, before the game started. What was weird was like last week they said, well, Nestor's coming back. We're not going with the 6-man rotation. And so everyone's like, okay, so somebody has to go to the pen. So Sevy should go to the pen, like, because he sucks. So like, or we just get rid of him, but put him in the pen.
I think they had made some mention that they don't intend to start him for a while.
That's what, they said all options are on the table, but he may not get his next start, I think. They alluded to that in some way. Not anymore. So that happened like last week. And then on Monday, we get the weird Germán armpit stuff. Game. So like he's probable to start all week. Like that's who the probable pitcher was all week leading up to the game. Then hours before the game.
Before?
Yeah, like before, like a couple hours before, or an hour before, whatever it was, very close to game time when they put the lineup out, they say, "Oh, just kidding. Germán is not the starting pitcher. Brito is going to start." And like, because Brito had a locker up there, and everyone was like, "What the hell?"
And Boone did say on Tuesday that he was brought up the day before because they were worried that there was an issue with Germán. That was Boone's comment.
Oh, he did say that. Okay, I didn't know that.
He said that he was brought, that they called Brito to come up on Sunday.
Oh, that's right. He was, because we did hear he was in transit to go to Yankee Stadium. Like he's been called up, or
and that Germán quote unquote was in 10 out of 10 pain on Sunday.
Right, in his armpit.
Yeah,
very specifically. They kept saying his armpit, not his shoulder, not his arm, his armpit.
10 out of 10 pain. One of those things, like we've talked before, the Yankees have those weird phantom injuries. Last year, a lot of those phantom injuries coming up. So it just kind of has that sound to it.
It has that vibe to it. But
I think a lot of us were were expecting that, or alluding to, and I think John Boy even alluded to it, that maybe this was all really just a ploy to get Burrito a showcase start to try to trade for Dylan Carlson, because the Cardinals wanted an MLB ready young pitcher.
Well, he did not show them that he
did not do that, and then Boone denied that was the case. Even if it was the case, whether or not it was the case, Boone wouldn't tell us that part. But
no,
yeah, I mean, it was a very weird situation on Monday. And then, sorry, what did they?
I was say what he did tell us was that he got the doctor to look at Germán at 5 o'clock. They couldn't get him earlier than 5 o'clock, and he had to start at 7 o'clock. He was cleared, and he started throwing at 6, but he couldn't get his routine done in time to start at 7, and so that is why
that's why he came in later.
He didn't start. I'm not really sure why they waited until the 5th inning, or was it the 5th inning to bring him in, or the 4th inning? I think it was the 5th inning. The top of the 5th inning, that they brought him in.
He played 5 innings, so Burrito went 4, right. Germán went the rest.
Yeah,
and he had a shutout. Why did they wait so long? Of the game.
Yeah, exactly. He pitched very well. So that happens on Monday. Then they say Monday. I guess it was Tuesday during the day, or was it?
I think it was Wednesday.
I can't remember if it was Monday night or okay, right. It was Wednesday when they announced it. So on Tuesday, I think they said on Tuesday that they have. I could have my timeline wrong, but before it came out, it was said, somebody said, we have starting pitching news. Nestor is coming back and is going to start over the weekend, and we have starting pitching news. And everyone was like, well, what's the news? Like, what do you mean? Why are you being so cryptic? And he said, and everybody's healthy. And so I was like, so what do you mean? And I was like, well, they had said that they're not going with the 6-man rotation. This must mean that somebody's going to. Oh, and they said that Sevy is going to start on Friday. That was what it was. Sevy is going to start on Friday, I think that's what it is. Friday or Saturday. I think it was Friday. And Nestor's coming back and we'll start one of the games over the weekend. And we have more starting pitching news, and we'll tell you soon. And so everyone's like, oh, so that means Germán must be going to the bullpen. It's either Germán or Schmidt. Somebody's got to be going to the bullpen. That's got to be what their news is. Why are they being so cryptic about it? So I guess that did happen on Wednesday, because it was like later in the day when they were like, so our news is that Germán is going to the restricted list, and we are concerned about him and his immediate family.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's going to with that, we talked about the domestic violence in the beginning. They did release a statement that said there is no domestic violence issues that they know of at this, maybe not at this time, but basically that there is none of that. Because I'm sure people would make that connection.
I mean, especially with the immediate family comment.
This is what happened too. The last time it happened is he got belligerent at a dinner and then slapped his wife, his then girlfriend or then fiance, at the table. So anyway, and speaking about just on his Boone's cryptic messages, I feel like we just get a lot of that, and I think John Boy and the Talking Yanks were going back and forth, even with the armpit thing. I mean, I think John Boy was like, so that was a showcase start, wasn't it? And they were like, no, and then he explained just exactly what we were talking about with the whole team physician not being able to come to 5. All that happened on Talking Yanks with Jake and John Boy. So I don't know if we want to get a little bit into that, some other stuff, because it wasn't just Germán that was being talked about in that situation. There was several issues that were coming up.
Well, what was funny about that conversation was that John Boy ended it with like, when the book comes out in 10 years, is that still going to be the story? And Boone kind of gave him a look. And so I thought that was kind of funny, because it's like, something doesn't add up. Something doesn't smell right here. So,
Yep. So, and I thought they did a great job. I did see a little bit. Some people were upset about how hard they were grilling Boone. And I find it funny because I don't know if it's exactly the same fans, but like John Boy just can't do anything right when it comes to these Boone things. They either are too soft on Boone or too harsh on Boone. But I will say before we get into a lot of this stuff, Boone, we've had a lot of our hatred towards Boone come out, I think, a lot of times during this podcast, but I have a lot of respect for him doing this podcast because I don't know many managers that would get on to these podcasts each week to talk with basically people who are fans. Like, I mean, that John Boy and Jake are essentially that. They are fans of the Yankees. And yeah, so I give him respect for that, but yeah.
Yeah, they've said, I think when they started this whole thing with Boone, that we're going to come to you with questions as a fan. So they let him know right off the bat, like, we're not coming to you, like, we don't want to ask you the same questions they ask you at the press conferences. We've all heard those. So they wanted to try to ask them from more fan perspectives, and sometimes the fan perspective can be a little irrational. So, I think Jake asked him a question about why did Aaron Judge play, and or why didn't he play? Why didn't he play every game during the Orioles series? And Boone got kind of pissy about that question.
Why is there no sense of urgency? Didn't he throw that line in there? There's no sense of urgency.
When is there? He's like, or when will there be a sense of urgency or something? And he got real mad about that and was just like, yeah, Aaron Judge coming back that soon was a sense of urgency. We didn't give him rehab games. These are his rehab games. We're going to protect your athlete. Like you were saying before, he's this coach. He's going to protect Aaron Judge. Good for him. I'm happy to see Boone like get a little fire under him and say like, no, this decision was ours to, like, we made the right decision here. Like, we knew what we were doing. You people don't have all the information, so shut up. It was kind of nice to see him go in toe that line because fans can need to be put in their place a little bit sometimes. You get a little up, I might have gone a little too overboard with the Rizzo stuff. There's probably pieces that we don't know about that, but from the outside perspective, sometimes things are infuriating, and it's cool that as a fan, Jake and John Boy can ask Boone some questions. So it's
and I like the John Boy let him hear it. Maybe you have a little bit more to say, because I've only watched the podcast through TikTok, which was an edited version of what actually happened, and I think you watched the full thing. But I loved when John Boy was basically like, it's really set. Like, the saddest part is you actually think this is it for the team, like this is what can win it, because it's not.
Yeah, and then John Boy tried to like move on to the next topic. I think he just kind of wanted to zing that in there as the last, like, I can't believe you think this is good, but I know you're not going to take that well, so we're going to just move on to the next topic, and just tried to transition it very nicely. And Boone was like, I don't remember if he interrupted him or not. It doesn't matter. He was like, whoa, hang on, like, you said that was pretty passive aggressive of you to say that you think. I don't know. He was a little feistier that episode. And so they gave it, back and forth. I thought it was, I did cringe a little bit when John Boy said that, because it was like, oh, you said that to the manager? Like, of course he thinks that this team, like, he's going to be behind his team. That is his job.
Yeah.
So I cringed a little bit at that. But
it does remind me of Chris Paul I think at the time he was playing for the Clippers. He was asked a question where they were playing in conference finals, or it was in the playoffs, and they were down in the series, and they were the away team of the series. So like, they were going home, but it was only for a 2-game stretch before they would have to go back. Or maybe they were the home, the advantage team, and they had to go away. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And they were like, they asked them some question where they're like, so do you think that you guys will, be back here in a couple days, like to play, like, to play another game here at home? And he's like, man, I'm part of the team. What do you think I'm going to say? Do you think I'm going to say no? I think we're going to lose when we're away. Like, you know.
Right. Sometimes I feel like, oh, bless you. Sometimes I feel like the media, I mean, it's the media's job. They have to ask these questions. If they don't ask these questions, they're not doing their, they're going to get yelled at by other people.
Like I said, fans are upset when John Boy aren't, like the Talking Yanks aren't hard on Boone, that they don't ask him tough enough questions. Then when he does,
then he gets crap for it then too. So like, I get that. Yeah. The media this is their job to ask it, but on the side of like the coaches or the players, when sometimes they get asked these questions, I'm sure, or over and over again, they get asked the same questions. I'm sure it's tiring. And the John Boy podcast, they are with the Boone, bantering with Boone, I guess is what they call it. They ended with like talking about the media, and Boone joked back like, or John Boy said, yeah, you say the 18 strikeout thing. Like, I think you were talking about, maybe that was our pre-podcast talk, that, Boone acknowledged in the podcast that, I mean, I do hear myself when I say, aside from the 18 strikeouts, it was a good at bats. He's like, I was trying to search for those. Yeah, he was like, that gets clipped, and he's like, and John was like, there's a lot of context around it, and all people do is read that one line, and then Boone said like, well, and you guys repeat it, and and then there's Jake over there with,
and I think John Boy kind of goes,
I think he's and then Jake's over there with his shirt that says "It's right in front of us" in quotes, which all Yankee fans hate that quote, and Rodon just uttered it, so everyone's like, oh, he's brainwashed. But I think there is context to some of these quotes. There's the Rodon quote that says "It's right in front of us" there's a lot more to it, and the way he said it was like, we need to take ownership of this. This is in front of us. This is in our control. Like, I know people don't like of course it's in your control, but like, they're saying this is on us. We're not trying to blame anything else. It is on us to go forward and get this. So I get why I don't like hearing it either. It's right in front of us. Well, God damn it, then play like it's right in front of you and get it. But I also understand why they're saying it, because, if otherwise, what are they going to say to the media? Right. They're like, we suck. And then they're going to go and say, they're going to run with that story. I will say IKF has probably been the best aside from Judge, at speaking to the media and telling it like it is. And like, without Judge, I think you all saw it. It is what it is. Or, we're not very good. Or I don't know. He has a way of being able to tell us the truth without it sounding awful and without placating everyone too. So I don't know. Maybe Boone should learn from IKF.
Speaking of funny interviews or just interviews of players, Higgy's, it cracks me up. So
his was
Higgy. Just to explain, Higgy, and we'll get into the trade deadline stuff next, but spoiler, it sucked.
Spoiler alert, we didn't really do anything. Yeah.
And I guess like Higgy shows up to the press conference and he looks kind of like sad, or not maybe sad, just like not kinda emotionless. Yeah. And he's like, I think what did they ask him? Is this partly because you guys didn't get anybody? Like, is that why the emotions are so
the
low?
Mood down, or
and something like that. And he's like, no, honestly, I'm just a not very emotional person. Like, I don't really have, like, I'm pretty emotionless. Like, I'd be acting the same way likely if we signed, if you told me that we got Shohei Ohtani, like I just, I was like, that's very fair.
It was in like, true. Like, he is very like flat personality, is always kind of the same. Like, maybe only a smidge more than DJ. that was funny. And then IKF's take on the trade deadline was he was screaming with
that he's
delight that he was still a Yankee. He at 6:00 he was very happy to know that he was still a Yankee. So so that's cool too.
Speaking of these things, why IKF was screaming is because you got players on the team like IKF, Bader,
Sevy,
Wandy, and Sevy, who are all going to be free agents at the end of the season, unless they're extended by the team, which is likely not to happen with any of them. Maybe Wandy, I could see, just because he is a lefty and we don't have many in the pen.
He is it.
I think there may be two others, and I don't know if they're like one. I think is
I don't know if they're active. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say I think one is Nick Ramirez, which is not really a lefty. He's not a pitcher. Anyway, so I could see Wandy, but the other three are probably not going to get extensions. They might be in talks to be re-signed during free agency, but they won't be extended prior to becoming free agents. So typically a team that is not in a good spot will sell. Yankees are not typically sellers. Pretty much ever in history, they're not really sellers. Maybe in 2014, but historically, we're just not sellers. We are typically always in a division fight for the division title around this time. Even last year, when we were absolutely terrible in August, we were still leading the division. Yeah. Typically you sell. And so players like that are sold for prospects, for money cap, to be able to reset for next season. And the Yankees didn't do that. But what also the Yankees didn't do was address any actual issue that we had. We don't have a left fielder. Our first baseman has been concussed for 2 months. We don't really have a third baseman. We have kept a shortstop, third baseman, second baseman who's really good in AAA for no reason all season. And we also don't really have a true closer. We just mentioned we don't have very many lefty options in the pen, though pen is not the biggest need.
It's our best. That's our strength. But to go like and
and sorry, when we don't have a fifth starter, was the other hole.
Right. We were about to, but then Herman,
the free trade of Nestor Cortez was on its way.
Yep. So. So I mean, the issue with the selling was that, just to play devil's advocate, the issue with them deciding if they should sell was that we are only, I think at the time it was 2.5, maybe 3.5 games out of a playoff spot. There's over 50 games left in the season. That's not unachievable. Sure. I think if you look, there's only like a 17% chance at the time, or maybe as of today, something like a 17% chance the Yankees make the playoffs. I think that is the probability at this point. It's definitely under 20. So their issue, I guess, was balancing that. I don't know. Where my issue is that, okay, if you think you are in reach of a playoff spot and the players you have will figure it out. Now, Stanton, I will say, just asterisk, Stanton has kind of showed some life in the last couple of games. Let's hope that lasts.
In back-to-back games. Yeah. As we started the podcast, he hit a home run.
Yeah, the Astros game is going on right now. It's 3-4 Yankees right now. So, and I've seen Stanton do something good. I've seen Bader score. I saw Volpe get an RBI. So like there's some nice life over here in my laptop. But if you're going to count on that, okay, I'm with you. I am a diehard Yankee fan. Let's make a run for the playoffs.
Yeah. And I don't think either one of us are big proponents in let's sell and not make the playoffs.
Yeah, I was
like we don't want to be the Mets.
I was like if they had gone into sell mode, I would have understood.
Right.
But I didn't want them to. And so it was like, okay, you think we're going to make the playoffs, then get somebody. Trade away Pereira. Trade away somebody. We've got some good pieces down in the farm system. We might not have the best farm system anymore, but we have some good pieces.
Worst according to
but
MLB
there are pieces that you can play with, and I'm sure you could send like a bullpen arm.
Yeah.
We were talking about last episode, maybe a bullpen arm. We're going to have to say goodbye to somebody, we've got
Marinaccio in AAA now.
Now, there are other reports. I don't know if you've heard them. I think they came out today. Now, this could be like Cashman's PR team, or this could be like an actual thing that happened. Apparently, Cashman was all ready to sell Bader, Gleyber, Sevy, Wandy, Marinaccio, but Hal told him no. So, if that's the case, then my ire shifts to Hal, because what? Line was that Hal thought if we're in shot, if we have a shot to make the playoffs, that's our responsibility, is to make the playoffs. My issue is, again, then buy.
Yeah.
If
and that's the frustrating thing, is because you got Peraza, Perea, Florial, and I get that no teams wanted Florial earlier in the year, but he has with something almost 30 home runs, I think, in AAA this season. Do you tell me no team wants to take another shot at it? Yeah, maybe at that time nobody wanted him because he's never proven himself. Yeah. So and what are we doing with Peraza? We've been saying it all year. I think in spring training we said Peraza will be traded by July for a piece. None of that happened. And so, like you said, my frustration isn't that we didn't sell, it's that we did nothing. I would rather us sell than do nothing.
We did not do nothing. We did not do nothing.
We got the one piece that we said that we didn't need.
At 5:57, they made a trade for apparently a pretty decent minor leaguer for a right-handed reliever that we don't need. Poor Kenyon Miller. Is that his name? Keenan. I think it's Keenan. Keenan Middleton. Sorry, poor guy. He's gonna get the IKF treatment. We don't want you here. Why are you here? You might be a good player.
And he's got a decent ERA, but like the issue is
a rental.
Is that he's a rental. I don't think he's got a lot of team control, if any. And we just said, what is our number one strength? Right-handed bullpen pitching. I would have preferred to hear that it was a left-handed bullpen pitcher.
If it was a left-handed a lefty in the bullpen, okay, great. We have more than Wandy active in the bullpen as a lefty, but no, it was another righty in the pen. It's like, okay, that's nowhere close to what we need. Nowhere close.
Yeah,
we've known since the off season last year that we needed a left fielder, that that we had an aging third base situation, that we've got a number of holes.
Yeah.
And this is what
and I heard that one of the things that Boone was trying to say was like, we need team control. What pisses me off is you had Lane Thomas, my favorite trade, Lane Thomas and Javier, the third baseman from Washington. I'm not gonna.
Candelario.
Yes,
Candelario. Yeah.
That was in and I get that they probably wanted a lot because they are very good players, but they do have time. They're not immediate free agents. You didn't make that trade. Someone else got. Lane Thomas is still a national, but they did get Javier, and. You don't want to make real moves. Like you're too afraid to trade prospects that you're just going to keep in AAA. Cashman made some comment that Everson Pereira is off the table. Dude, like we just said, you are the 6th worst farm system in the league. You don't have much to play with. I can understand Jason Dominguez all day long. Do not get rid of him. I can get that. I can get behind that. He is about to be MLB ready. We do need outfielder, especially with Bader going to be gone next year if we don't re-sign. I get it entirely. But Everson Pereira is the guy that we're going to be a no deal around him.
Yeah. No, nobody else should be off the table in our, especially playing like we are. What are you doing? And
we don't have anything. We don't have the ability to afford not to make those trades.
Yeah, and what you said before, I forget how you put, but it was just like basically they probably offered him something to get a piece, but he didn't like, what he had to give up for Candelario. And, Cashman hugs his prospects, like you said. He values his pieces a lot higher than I think other people value what he's got.
He wants the diamonds in the rough so badly that he has to be the smartest man out there. And if he doesn't think that this trade is going to make him the smartest man in the room, he doesn't make it.
Well, right. And so these are diamonds to him. Why don't you see that they're diamonds? And everyone else is like, well, we don't want those. And so that's why I think this Hal comment about like, he didn't let me make these trades is this Hal rumor is actual bullshit. Because I honestly think that there was another comment that came out from another free agent, or not a free agent, sorry, an agent from a player on another team or a GM.
It was a rival executive is all it said. Rival executive.
Yeah, that had said that it's just awful trying to work with Cashman, and he thinks nothing is worth his players. Basically, like you can't meet his expectations.
I saw the same thing, that he's difficult to work. He's difficult to talk with over trades.
So to me, it sounds like people just don't want to deal with him. That's why nothing happened in the offseason, and that's why nothing happened before the trade deadline, and that's why he needs to be fired. Like I'm over Brian Cashman. Just not
fire Cashman was trending to Tuesday.
There was a guy at the ballpark, I think 2 days in a row with a giant fire Cashman sign. Maybe it was just
and I think they were chanting it all day long. And I want to point out a tweet that I put out on was it Monday morning, because I thought that the trade deadline is like it always is supposed to be, which ends on the 31st. But thanks to COVID, that's never going to be the same again, apparently. So. Anyway, and it still rings true because we didn't really do anything other than sign a worthless to us, because we already have a right-handed pitcher's player. But I said that Cashman made 0 deals before the deadline, didn't sell, didn't buy. Guaranteed bullets from Cashman's presser today. Free trades coming, Nestor and Lowe, Jonathan Loaisiga. Judge is getting back. He'll get hot again. In a great spot to win with the guys we have. This is still a World Series roster. Those were my bullet points on Monday, and he said just about every single one of those.
Yep.
With maybe the exception of talking about Judge. He said we're getting Nestor and Jonathan Loaisiga back. That'll be a big boost for us. He said that we're obviously still in it to win it.
Obviously.
After not making any deals, we're still obviously in it to win it. And just a lot of other, BS comments. But, I mean, it's becoming – and I'm not saying I'm a genius. A lot of other people were saying the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just become so common of his little nuggets that he says that it's too easy to know what he's going to say.
Like we keep saying, the Yankees are just a PR machine. You don't know what is going on behind closed doors. You don't, that what they say is the minimal truth. They say as little as possible without lying, I think, is how you can put their PR strategy. without outright lying.
Right.
They'll wordsmith things so that it sounds better, but they're not actually lying. I mean, we didn't lie to you. The Judge Toe stuff and, wherever that came from, gave Boone a lot of shit. I think later it came out that it was kind of charged by Aaron Judge that he didn't like the timelines. He didn't want timelines out there in the public. Maybe that's true. And if that's true, then good on Boone, I guess, for just sticking his guns and, not answering the question because Judge didn't want him to, if that's the case. But, I get that they can't tell us everything, but
well, it's just
Cashman
don't
sucks,
bullshit
so
at the same time.
You don't have to bull, and you bullshit in the offseason that World Series or bust is the way they are. That's the Yankees way. That's the way we all have lived. That's the way all fans have.
The no excuses comment last year.
No excuses. This is the year, and then we have excuses out the ass towards the end of the year. Yeah, I mean it's getting old. You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. You can't say it's World Series or bust, and then at the end of the year be like, well, you should just be happy that we made the playoffs. Like, that's really hard to do. Right. We will be happy we make I'm not unhappy we make the playoffs, but we should make the playoffs. Your payroll dictates that you should make the playoffs. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yankee fans, I know I've been going on a rant here, but Yankee fans get a lot of shit, and we've been getting a lot of shit, being pissed off about how poorly they've been playing. Oh, poor Yankee fans, you're so entitled. Try being a Royals fan because we suck all the time. Cool. Your payroll is an eighth of our payroll. It's when the Yankees are winning.
And Yankee fans get no matter what,
Well, I was going to say, when the Yankees are winning, it's, your payroll. Well, you should win. Look at the payroll. And now when we're saying the same thing, look at our payroll. We should be winning. What the hell's going on? We're brats?
We're like, yeah. Yeah,
no. We're not entitled. We expect.
Yeah, we're entitled.
You spent a lot of money.
The athletic fans, and it's like, and I think I said it recently. I feel like the Yankee fans need to put on their own boycott, because to me, how, and I don't know how much of it is on Hal or how much it is on Cashman 100%, because we don't know what's going fully on in the back room, but one of them, if not both of them, are at fault. And when it comes to Hal, I'm not saying that they should be calling for him to sell the team, but I just wish that we could have a little bit of a boycott of our own, and because I think to him, the bottom line is what is most important. It's not about the standard of the Yankee brand being the gold standard of the MLB. He's not his dad when it comes to that stuff. His dad would have been firing Boone mid-season last year. He would have fired Cashman.
If he didn't fire Boone, at least he wouldn't have extended him. It would have been like, see ya. Let's find something else. They wouldn't have let this whole. The Yankees just feel like the good old boys, from their medical staff to the GM. It's just like, let's just let everyone come in. As long as they're doing the Yankee way, then they are good. No job performance be damned. That, no accountability on any of those people. The players have to perform, absolutely. But Cashman, with Hal's, permission, put this team together.
Yeah. And what's crazy, right, is we're not going to see any change when it comes to Cashman, no matter what the outcome of this season is. And one of the frustrating things with it is Hal said right after we signed Rodon, we're not done yet. And and I think we've only signed some low end, the guys like Franchy Cordeo, Willie Calhoun, Cole Calhoun, people who are
McKinney.
old, McKinney, people who are fringe AAA players that could play Major League Baseball, or signed a right-handed reliever we don't need. That's all we've done since that comment was made. While having, like we said, no left fielder, no of age third baseman, no fifth starter, and a first baseman that's not concussed. Like,
yeah,
we have 4 holes, and we've done nothing to fix it.
Right. I mean, forgot. Oh, that, just another point in Cashman's con category, I guess, because if Hal is saying we're not done, that to me sounds like, Cashman, you have support to go out to get more, to go find more people.
Yeah, and that's what I would say too. If this is people being mad at Hal, I don't see how this is a mad at Hal thing. I get if it was Hal saying, no, I not only do I not want you to sell, I'm also not wanting you to buy. We're not bringing any more money in. If that was what was said, then that's on Hal. But Hal saying, look, we're in a potential to win. We need to get.
Let's go. Let's go win.
Yeah.
Well,
and right now,
according to Cashman, he was working on a budget. So who knows what's right? I mean, with what's been said just in the last few days, I don't know. Like, I'd be pissed if I was Hal.
Yeah.
Like, I'd just be mad. Like, he's allowing these things to leak out that Hal wasn't supportive of me selling people, and also I was on a budget, so I couldn't buy people. I don't know. Like, and then Hal's saying, like, well, wait, but I sent someone to San Diego to look at their, just in case they were going to decide to sell and possibly, hopefully, have Soto. And then,
and didn't they send someone to
Miami?
I know I've heard that. Yeah, Miami, because of the Gleyber, and to the Cardinals to
my bet. I don't know, my gut says that Cashman is valuing his pieces way too high and and nobody wants to deal with him, because there were talks about people wanting Gleyber, and then Cashman said something about he's like, a lot of players here we have a lot of players that are talented, and that and playoff teams wanted to get their hands on them, but we're not going to give them away for nothing. So to me, that sounded like Miami, or maybe not Miami. Somebody wanted Gleyber. I don't know, the Orioles. Somebody wanted Gleyber, and they weren't going to give him enough back for him. Or somebody wanted Herman or Brito, and he wasn't going to get enough back for him. Or I don't know. It just, certain things that come out to me sound like Cashman is the one that's the hard one to deal with. And maybe Hal needs to loosen the purse strings a little bit, but I would think almost $300 million should get you a winning roster.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a lot about a lot of the bad stuff. I do want to talk about Cole, if we can, since I know we're past our hour mark.
I
made a comment.
Also gonna. Sorry, what can I get one more dig in against Cashman? Rizzo goes down. I love Waldo Cabrera. I really do. He's such a nice guy. He seems so cool and just lovely. Why is he being called up and not Peraza?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me, because we need an infielder.
And Waldo can play everywhere you pay, if that's Waldo your excuse. But Peraza is better than Waldo. Bring Peraza up. If we're in a playoff hunt, why are you not calling up your better players? Okay.
It makes no sense. But I agree with that too. And I'm glad you made that comment, because when I saw it was Waldo coming up, I'm like, but wasn't it an infielder?
Waldo is so nice. He's so great. His smiling face is just wonderful to see. But
and I get that
he's
Waldo
not doing
can
well this
play
year.
First. I get Waldo can play first, but
he can.
So can Bowers. So can DJ.
Yeah.
So can.
We don't need. Yeah.
Isn't there someone else who plays first?
Probably. I don't know. Probably IKF. I bet you if you put him over there, he could do
it out. But anyway,
Peraza should be up. We need bats in our lineup. We'll figure out, if you figure out where to put people. Like you've been doing it all season. Just call up Peraza, not Waldo. Waldo can stay down in AAA and try to figure out why his bat went to dark side.
Disappear. Yeah. So anyway, going back to Cole. Cole had a great game yesterday. He gave up a 2-run home run early to Wander Franco, but outside of that, nothing. I think McClanahan had a pretty rough outing.
Home run too.
Yeah, and so it was funny enough. Still going back to Cashman, as soon as that home run got hit, they started chanting "Fire Cashman."
Yeah,
from that home
I was
run.
like, "Oh, look, a lefty in Yankee Stadium hitting a home run."
Yeah. So I just want to finish off by just saying this when it comes to Cole, and I'm proud of this because I made this statement, and then Brian Hoke confirmed it. I mean, not that he saw my thing and then made this statement, but I said without Cole, the Yankees would be the Washington Nationals. And then Brian Hoke posted this basically to kind of confirm that. The Yankees have won 15 of Garrett Cole's 22 starts this season. Now, this was prior to the game, I believe. So they've won 16 of Garrett Cole's 23 starts. They are 5 games under 500, 40 and 45 when anybody else pitches. And I think, I don't know, what is 40 over 85? It's 470. Who has a 470 win percentage right now in MLB?
I don't know. I can look.
I'm pretty sure it's the Washington Nationals.
Oh, you meant by a team. I see.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Where's my MLB app? There it is.
I'm sorry. My brain wasn't working.
You're good. Oh, no, they're down to 422. But, I mean, if someone else was starting in his place, we would be losing more of those gains. But so maybe not the Washington Nationals, but I still feel validated in my point that the Yankees I would say Aaron Judge is our best player. He was our MVP last year. He is the best player on the team. But this season, our MVP is Garrett Cole.
Yeah, I mean,
he has got us back on track how many times this season?
Yeah, Garrett Cole is like 9-0 in games that he starts after the Yankees have lost a game.
And I also heard,
or the Yankees are 9-0. Yeah,
the Yankees are 9-0. I also heard, read a stat where in those 7 games that we lost, he has a better ERA in those 7 losses than he does in the 16 wins.
Wow.
And so, one, it just shows that the Yankees don't give him enough run support. But I think that Garrett Cole, without a doubt, should be winning the Cy Young. I said he's our MVP. He's not going to win the MVP of the league. That's more than likely Shohei Ohtani. With the way he's playing, he might even break Aaron Judge's record of 62 home runs. I mean, he's on pace for it. I'm not sure what the current actual pace is, but I mean, I think he's close to 40. I know he was at 39 the last I checked. But anyway,
I'm not sure, but yeah, could be broken this year. That's right. Give Aaron Judge another goal to beat. Shatter.
Yeah, but Cole is leading the league in ERA and a few other stats, a few other big pitching stats that typically voters like. But even outside of voters, just the eye test, like we said, the 9-0 in games. The Yankees are 9-0 in games after a loss when Garrett Cole is starting. He's righted the ship so many times this year.
Yes, and what I think is really great about what the difference between this year and maybe some previous years is that he hasn't let himself melt down. Like he might have like 1 or 2 games or something, but I feel like he doesn't let it stick with him. He might unravel for a couple of batters, but he gets it back. And like last year, that wasn't happening.
Yesterday's game, right? Like last year,
Right.
This was last year. Yesterday's game, he would have given up a couple more home runs.
Out of control, yeah. And he's gotten the home run thing under control. Now, he's obviously given up home runs. He gave one up yesterday, but it's not
he's a
with
home
the
run
same
pitcher. I mean,
he's a fastball pitcher.
Yeah, upper 90s. And when it gets connected, it's going to go far because you're giving them velocity.
Yeah, but last year it was like, oh my God, like every time he pitched, it was like he had multiple home runs
error,
and
I think we talked
then
about
error
it.
behind him with IKF. Oh my gosh, it was like it felt like every start. So I mean,
it was frustrating because
difference.
It's like, damn it, don't make the stupid ass errors. But at the same time, it's like damn it,
okay, Cole, don't unravel, just get out of it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like the change this year has been very evident. He has, like you said, saved the Yankees on a number of occasions and. I just think that deserving of the Cy Young.
Cole deserves to win it. He hasn't won it yet, and which is surprising. I mean, with the time when he was I'm not surprised with him in New York up until this year because he hasn't been the best
for his whole career.
Yeah,
that he didn't win one with Houston.
It's crazy. He had 350 strikeouts one of those seasons. I think 349 strikeouts in one season. Like. The fact that he hasn't won one yet is pretty crazy. I think he wins one this year.
He deserves it, definitely. Yeah. And he has been the ace of our, leadership wise. He's a goofball, but he's like the dad of the clubhouse, and so I know that doesn't count much for his Cy Young, but I think it matters. He's certainly.
He's a leader for sure, and
he's a leader amongst the pitchers, certainly, and
yeah. And so I'd be very, obviously, Judge this season being out for when he has been out has caused the offense to absolutely sputter. If Cole, and knock on wood that he doesn't get injured, but he would have the same effect on our pitching, both bullpen and. Rotation. If he were to get hurt, we'll go to becoming one of the worst.
To the season. There's
So
you thought it was bad before, right?
I just wanted to finish off on a positive note with Garrett Cole. That that I think he should win. I know that Eovaldi is in that. Conversation too. He'll get the wins in his favor, as well as the team actually that he's playing for is good in his favor. And sometimes it may not be it's gone against other players to be on a good team when it comes to voting. Typically Yankees when it comes to voting.
The Yankees typically don't get these kind of awards because you're the Yankees. So hopefully Garrett Cole can get the Cy Young Award because I really do think he, bias aside,
he deserves it. He deserves it for his career, and that's that. So if we get to witness one of his best
silver
careers,
lining to the season, maybe to have him win that. So that's what we have this week for things that made us angry about the Yankees. They are currently playing, as we said, the Astros. Their first game of a 4-game set. It's top of the 8th, and they are still winning 4-3. So that's
who's pitching.
That's good.
Albert Abreu.
Who's pitching? Canely is in right now. Okay. Bregman is up though, so those could be. I don't know. You never know. Bregman, I hate him. So 4-game set, important series. There. Who do they play after? It's also an important series. I forget, but sorry. It don't they play something I feel like. Or was it these three? Because they played the Orioles, the Rays, and Houston.
So I think the Astros was the last of the big important ones. But I'm sure. I mean, every series is important right now. But I don't know.
Every game is important. There's no. Oh, okay. The White Sox are next. So you would think that would be a good one. But we've been. Yeah, I mean, they beat us. We've lost to the Rockies. Who knows?
Yeah, the White Sox were the start of the downfall.
That's true.
When we beat the Dodgers,
that was the first series that Judge was out, and we were down bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
the White Sox will go to the White Sox this time, and so that's the next series. So we'll see how we play, and it's week by week, and hopefully they can actually squeak into the playoffs. But
yeah, it's doubtful.
We'll see.
17% doubtful. But,
yeah.
Positive thinking, guys.
So follow us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram at @damnyanks_pod for our next What We're Mad At with the Yankees podcast next week. And then on Facebook at @damnyAnksPod. Like and subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify, depending on how you listen to us. And again, I just want to say thank you to all the people who still are listening to us rant and complain about this team this season. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Until next time.
We'll talk to you next time. See ya.
See ya.